Vigo County Public Library is happy to present 𝙏𝙚𝙧𝙧𝙧 Terror Tales, a video series sharing spooky stories with local flair. These videos are based on history and contain some factual information, but as they age, legends take on a life of their own. Each storyteller adds his or her own personal touch that embellishes and dramatizes the cold, hard facts. As they are retold, embellishments develop the patina of truth and become inseparable from verifiable details. We hope you enjoy these stories. Some dark night, when the wind is howling and branches scratch at your window, you can retell them to your enraptured audience and keep the lore alive.
The corner of 13th and a Half and Poplar is at the very heart of Terre Haute, but this was not always so. The town only stretched north to Eagle Street, east to 5th Street, south to Swan Street, and west to Water Street. So, in 1824, this crossroads was occupied by a single house, surrounded by the forest. That house's builder was Major George 𝙭𝙧, who came to Vigo County from New Orleans. A brutal and mean-spirited man who built his fortune from slave trading, George was not welcome in polite society, and so built his home in the wilderness, far from any living person. As one pioneer said years later, Major George W. 𝙭𝙧 was a grim old man, thick-set, with iron-gray hair and whiskers, small eyes, and a very sour look. He was universally unpopular. All that glitters is not gold. The house was strange. Nothing like it existed for hundreds of miles. 𝙭𝙧 wanted his house to be built of stone, despite there not being any in the county. What 𝙭𝙧 wanted, though, 𝙭𝙧 got, quarrying the stone all the way out at Turkey Run. The building stood 6 feet off the ground with walls that were 18 inches thick. The dwelling took 3 years to take shape, and what a shape it was. A southern-style plantation home designed for New Orleans' sultry climate and not for the chill of Indiana winter. Yet, perhaps a house consumed by the bitter cold was the perfect home for a man whose heart, they said, had long since frozen over. How different was his wife, Matilda. She was kind and gentle, beloved by everyone who knew her. People wondered how such a sweet soul could be shackled to such a brute. Some say it was their son, their only child, who kept the peace in that cold and lonely home. But peace is a fleeting moment in this harsh and cruel world. Their son was killed by natives, and all light left their lives. Their visits to town became fewer and fewer. The visitors to the home came less and less. Any who passed by were scared away by the Major's ferocious white dogs. Matilda was locked away, alone and scared, with a man who some considered a monster. Finally, she could stand it no more and filed for divorce. George was distraught. For the first time in his life, he showed tenderness, begging her to take him back. But it was too late. She would not. And so she sealed his fate, and perhaps her own. No one ever saw Matilda again. People began to talk. Finally, a number of them went out to that lonely house in the woods. No one was there but George. When asked about her, he merely said that she had returned to New Orleans. Matilda had vanished, like gray smoke up a dark chimney. There was no evidence otherwise, so what could they do? As they left, though, they noticed a strange bulge in the fireplace, one that had not been there before. Could George have done it? Could he have bricked his wife's body up in the chimney? 𝙭𝙧 was certainly a cruel man. A few months after Matilda's disappearance, the Major's wrath was on full display. An innkeeper insulted him over politics, and 𝙭𝙧 repaid the outrage by challenging him to a duel. When the innkeeper declined to meet him upon the field of honor, George shot him in the back. His money got him out of it, but this attempt at murder finally saw him exiled to his lonely home. A broken and bitter man, with only his niece to care for him. Anger takes its own toll on a person, and so, a few years later, George died. After his passing, people began to notice strange, unexplainable things that happened in and around the house. Furniture began to move on its own. The cries of a woman could be heard in the night, and mysterious lights could be seen flickering around in the darkness, like ghostly fireflies. The home passed to his niece's family, the Prestons, who kept it for over 100 years. As Terre Haute grew up around the house, the legend of what had happened to Matilda spread far and wide. Generations of children would dare each other to sneak onto the high porch, peek into those gloomy windows, and see if the rumors were true. The home seemed as permanent as the rocks and the trees. Yet, nothing lasts forever. A few short decades ago, a mysterious fire consumed the house. They never found Matilda's body. Of course, what would be there after a fire and the dreary march of time? There is nothing there anymore, just an abandoned lot where the oldest house in Terre Haute once stood. And yet, they say if you go there on a night when the moon is full and the wind whips through the trees, you can still see mysterious lights flicker in and out of the darkness. If you don't make a sound, you can hear the cries of a woman, mourning for herself and a time long since past.